Picture this. You're standing in aisle 4 of your local grocery store. In your left hand, you have the brand name peanut butter you actually like. In your right hand, you have the generic store brand that tastes like, well, wet cardboard. The difference in price? 40 cents. You stand there for a solid 3 minutes, debating. You tell yourself, smart people save money, wealthy people are frugal. So you put the good stuff back, grab the cardboard spread, and walk away feeling like you just won a victory for your financial future. But here's the thing, that decision, that mindset, it's not making you rich. In fact, that specific type of smart thinking is exactly what keeps most people stuck in the middle class forever. We are taught that being good with money means suffering, cutting corners, and obsessing over the small stuff. But what if I told you that the habits you think are responsible, the ones your parents taught you, the ones you see on Instagram, are actually mathematically guaranteed to keep you poor? Today, we are looking at the 9 money habits that look smart, but are actually destroying your wealth. My name is Max, and I spend way too much time thinking about the psychology of wealth and the mathematics of early retirement. If you're someone who feels like you're doing everything right, saving, budgeting, saying no to fun, but your bank account just isn't growing the way it should be, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with the big one, the one that drives me absolutely crazy, the latte factor. We've all heard the guru on TV screaming that if you just stopped buying a $5 coffee every morning, you'd be a millionaire. It sounds smart, right? It sounds logical. Small leaks sink great ships. But let's look at the math, because numbers don't care about your feelings. If you buy a $5 coffee every single day of the year, that is $1,825. Now, is $1,800 a lot of money? Sure. But let's say you cut that coffee. You make coffee at home. You are miserable every morning, but you saved $1,800. Now let's look at your big 3 expenses: housing, transportation, and food. Most people spend 30 to 40% of their income on housing. If you earn $60,000 a year and you negotiate $200 off your rent, or you choose a slightly cheaper car that saves you $150 a month on payments and insurance, or you refinance a high-interest loan, you save thousands with just one decision. Here's what most people don't realize. You have a limited amount of cognitive willpower every day. If you spend all your energy stressing over a $5 coffee or 40 cents on peanut butter, you enter a mindset of scarcity. When you focus on cutting $5 expenses, you ignore the $5,000 questions. You pat yourself on the back for skipping Starbucks, but then you overpay for your car insurance by $600 a year because you were too busy to shop around. So stop sweating the small stuff. I want you to spend extravagantly on the things you love and cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't. Automate your savings first and buy the latte guilt-free with what's left. Habit number 2 is something I see in smart, risk-averse people all the time. It's the addiction to cash. Now, you might be thinking, Max, wait a minute, you always say cash is king. You tell us to have an emergency fund. Yes, you need an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses, that is non-negotiable. But I see people with $50,000, $80,000, or $100,000 sitting in a standard checking account earning 0.01% interest. They think they are being safe. They think, if the market crashes, I'm good. If I lose my job, I'm good. But here is the silent killer: inflation. Let's say you have $50,000 sitting in a shoebox or a basic bank account. If inflation is running at a historical average of 3%, your money is losing buying power every single day. In 10 years, that $50,000 will only buy you about $37,000 worth of goods. You didn't lose money in the stock market, but you did lose $13,000 of value by playing it safe.
This is where it gets really interesting. There is a psychological concept called loss aversion. We feel the pain of losing $100 twice as much as the joy of gaining $100. So we hoard cash to avoid the pain of a stock market dip. But by doing that, we guarantee a 100% chance of losing value to inflation. The action step here is simple. Calculate exactly what 6 months of expenses looks like. Keep that in a high-yield savings account, not a checking account, so it at least keeps up with inflation. Every single dollar above that number needs to be invested. Cash is not an investment. It's a melting ice cube. All right, this one is going to make the debt-free Scream community angry. But remember, we are here to be wealthy, not just debt-free. Habit number 3 is aggressively paying off low-interest debt. Let's say you have a mortgage at 3 or 4%, or maybe a student loan at 3%. Every extra dollar you have, you throw at that principal. You want that balance to hit zero. It feels smart, it feels responsible. But let's run the numbers. Imagine you have an extra $10,000. Option A, you pay down your 4% mortgage. You just saved yourself a guaranteed 4% return on that money. Option B, you invest that $10,000 in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, which historically returns about 8 to 10% per year over the long run. If you choose option A, you are essentially earning 4%. If you choose option B, you are earning 8 to 10%. The spread, the difference between the two, is 4 to 6%. By paying off the debt early, you are literally paying an opportunity cost. You are losing money by trying to save money. Look, I get it. Debt feels heavy. Mentally, if you need to pay it off to sleep at night, fine. That's a psychological return on investment. But mathematically, if your debt interest rate is lower than inflation or the average market return, paying it off early is a bad financial decision. Check your interest rates. If it's above 6 or 7%, pay it off aggressively. If it's under 4%, pay the minimums and invest the difference. Let your money work harder than your debt. I'm throwing money away on rent. How many times have you heard that? How many times have you said that? Habit number 4 is rushing to buy a home because you think rent is a waste. This is the American dream, right? Buy a house, build equity, retire rich. Not exactly. Here's what most people don't realize about home ownership. The ticker price is a lie. When you rent, the rent is the maximum you will pay that month. When you own, the mortgage is the minimum you will pay. Property taxes, HOA fees, maintenance, closing costs, insurance, and the big one, mortgage interest. If you buy a $400,000 house with a 7% interest rate, over 30 years, you aren't paying $400,000. You're paying nearly $1 million. That extra $600,000 isn't equity. It's interest paid to the bank. Rent buys you patience. Rent buys you mobility. If you get a job offer in another city, you can leave. If the roof leaks, you call the landlord. If you force a home purchase before you are ready just to stop throwing money away, you often end up house poor, stuck in a property you can't afford to maintain with zero cash flow to invest in the market. Use the 5% rule. Multiply the value of the home you want by 5%, then divide by 12. If your monthly rent is lower than that number, you are mathematically better off renting and investing the difference in the stock market. Habit number 5 is the buy it for life trap. We've all convinced ourselves that buying the $300 boots is smarter than the $50 boots because they'll last forever. We buy the $2,000 MacBook for productivity. We buy the premium car for reliability. Sometimes this is true, but often this is just lifestyle inflation masquerading as financial wisdom. Let's be real. Are you buying the $800 blender because it's a financial investment or because it looks nice on your counter and makes you feel like a health guru? There is a law of diminishing returns. A $20 t-shirt is better than a $5 t-shirt. But is a $100 t-shirt 5 times better than the $20 one? No, it's maybe 10% better. When you justify luxury purchases as investments in quality, you are usually just giving yourself permission to overspend. Apply the cost per use metric. If you buy a $1,000 suit for weddings and you go to 2 weddings a year, that suit costs you $500 per wear for the first year. That's bad math. Rent the suit. But if you buy a $1,000 mattress and sleep on it for 3,650 nights over 10 years, that's 27 cents a night. That is smart. Know the difference. Okay, let's talk about earning money. Habit number 6 is falling into the low ROI side hustle trap. We live in a hustle culture. Everyone tells you to drive Uber, deliver DoorDash, or do surveys online in your spare time. It looks smart. You're grinding. You're making extra cash. But let's look at the math of your time. If you drive for a delivery app, after gas, wear and tear on your car, and taxes, you might be making $12 to $15 an hour. If you do that for 10 hours a week, that's $150. Now imagine you took those 10 hours a week and learned a high-value skill. You took a certification course for your current job. You learned Excel or Python or public speaking. You improved your primary career skills. That skill acquisition could lead to a $10,000 or $20,000 raise at your main job. A $20,000 raise is recurring revenue. You get that every year. The DoorDash money stops the second you stop driving. Wealthy people don't trade time for money linearly. They trade time for leverage. When you work a low-wage side hustle, you are capping your earning potential. You are exhausting yourself for pennies when you could be building a skill that pays dollars. Calculate your aspirational hourly rate. If you want to make $100,000 a year, your time is worth roughly $50 an hour. Do not do work that pays less than that. Outsource it or ignore it and focus on increasing your primary income source. Habit number 7. You think you're the next Warren Buffett. You download a trading app, you read some news, you buy Tesla, you buy Nvidia, you buy some obscure crypto coin because your cousin told you it's going to the moon. You think, why should I settle for the 10% market average when I can pick the winners and make 50%?
Here's a statistic that should terrify you. Over a 15-year period, More than 90% of professional fund managers, people who went to Ivy League schools, have teams of analysts and supercomputers, fail to beat the S&P 500 index. If the professionals can't do it, what makes you think you can do it while sitting on the toilet scrolling through Twitter? Picking individual stocks is not investing, it's gambling. And it looks smart because occasionally you win. You buy a stock, it goes up 20%, and you feel like a genius. But then you hold a loser that drops 50%, and you tell yourself it'll come back. This creates tax nightmares, transaction fees, and huge emotional stress. Be boring. Boring makes you rich. Buy low-cost, broad market index funds. You capture the growth of the entire economy. You don't have to look at the charts. You just get rich slowly. I have a lot of respect for people who dig themselves out of debt. But habit number 8, avoiding credit cards entirely, is a mistake for anyone with self-control. There is a school of thought that says credit cards are evil, cut them up. If you have a spending addiction, yes, cut them up. But for the rest of us, using a debit card is literally throwing money away. Let's look at the benefits. First, security. If someone skims your debit card, they steal your money. You fight to get it back. If they skim your credit card, they steal the bank's money. The bank fights to get it back. Second, rewards. If you spend $20,000 a year on life, groceries, gas bills, and you use a 2% cash back card, that is $400 free dollars. And third, credit score. You need a credit score to buy a house, get a car loan, and in some states, even to get a job or insurance. Using cash or debit builds zero credit history. You're making yourself invisible to the financial system, which hurts you when you need leverage later. Treat your credit card like a debit card. Set up auto pay for the full statement balance every month, never pay a cent in interest, but harvest all the points and protection. And finally, habit number 9. This is the most common one. You get your paycheck, you pay your rent, you pay your bills, you buy groceries, you go out for drinks, and then at the end of the month, you look at what is left in your account and say, okay, I'll put this in savings. This looks responsible. You aren't spending more than you make. But here is the psychological flaw, Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available. Spending expands to fill the money available. If you see money in your checking account, your brain views it as spendable. You will subconsciously find things to buy. Oh, I have $500 left. I can afford those concert tickets. By the end of the month, you have $0 left to save. This is where we flip the script. You have to pay yourself first, not metaphorically, literally. The second your paycheck hits, your investments and savings should be automatically deducted before you even wake up. If you never see the money, you won't miss it. You will learn to live on what remains. This artificially creates scarcity, which forces you to budget better while your wealth grows in the background. Look, getting rich isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's not about finding a secret crypto coin or sewing your own clothes to save money on thread. It's about psychology. It's about avoiding the traps that feel safe but are actually risky. The safe path, hoarding cash, avoiding debt, working hard at a low-paying job, is the path to mediocrity. The wealthy path requires you to understand inflation, leverage, and opportunity cost. I want you to pick one of these habits that you are currently doing, just one, and flip it this week. Stop paying extra on your 3% mortgage and open an investment account. Stop hoarding cash and put it in a high-yield savings account. Stop trying to pick stocks and just buy the index. If you found value in this and you want to see exactly how I set up my automated money system so I only spend 1 hour a month on my finances, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't just work for money, make your money work for you. See you in the next one.